Everybody, have a fun year.
Here we are.
We have the minutes. Did everyone have a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
Just one very, very minor correction.
Okay.
On page 6, that small typo. Page 6, the third line down, last word, I think that should be is, not if. Consistency and communication between teachers is needed, not if needed.
So with that change, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain. I wasn't there. All right, next, warrants.
All right. I know I have a bunch. I know. Sorry. I have reviewed and approved the following minutes. June 13th, 2019. What did I say? Minutes. Oh, sorry. Warrants. First night. June 13th, 2019, in the amount of $594,365.23. June 25th, 2019, $287,248.61. July 18th, 2019, $742,630.33. July 25th, 2019, $311,536.26. August 13th, 2019, $854,872.18. August 27th, 2019, $287,997.34. I wish to enter them into public record.
Student representative update. Welcome back, Connor. Cooper. First night.
Thankfully, all the schools have started back up pretty smoothly. Everybody is back. At the high school, the senior cruise is happening right about now. Sadly, I couldn't make it due to some prior obligations I had tonight. Wasn't this? Don't worry.
Okay, I was going to say. We will drive you to that boat right now.
But from what I've heard so far, just seen some stuff on Twitter, it looks like it's a lot of fun. So that's good. Picture day is on Monday, so everybody's getting all spruced up for that already. The college financial seminar night is next Thursday. The college fair is on October 3rd, and the football, boys and girls soccer, girls volleyball, cross country, golf, and unified basketball have all started. And from what I hear, all the teams are off to a great start. Especially girls cross country had a great win last night. It's Dover Sherman.
Yeah, nice.
So they were TVL champions last year, so it's really good. And we also had the welcome back assembly on the 6th, hosted by Student Council. And that also was a lot of fun. Musical chairs, if anybody saw it on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
It got pretty intense.
Yeah.
The Yell, last night they had the music band rental night, and I saw some pictures of that on Twitter, and that looked like it was really cool, a lot of fun. At the LGN and JCS, both celebrated International Dot Day last Friday, and partly on Monday, kind of celebrating making your mark. So that was really cool to see. And then at the LGN, the Boosterthon Kickoff Pep Rally is on October 2nd, and at the JCS, they've been doing family welcome breakfasts all through the week for each grade, and today was the 2nd grade, and tomorrow is the 3rd grade. And then the Fall Festival is on the 29th. And then at the middle school, a couple sports have started, as well as all the clubs. And I'm happy to say that Rubik's Cube Club has started at the middle school, which is just awesome to hear, because that got started at the high school last year, and I see it already branching out into the middle school. It's really cool. So yeah, that about does it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. We will move on to Mrs. Bolton for the opening school report.
Welcome to JCS, and welcome. I have some staff here tonight too, and a couple of parents. We had a pretty smooth opening of the school year, considering everything that was going on during the summer with the window project and the doors, and the custodians did a really good job, because they cleaned one area, and then there was some window work, and then that needed to be cleaned again, and then we also had the summer school here. So it was a busy summer, and then it was a very busy end of August when Mrs. Kiefer left, and we had a lot of staffing changes, but all went well, and we are fully staffed except for our wellness teacher who's leaving, but we're looking to interview and hire someone new. But we have some new staff. We have Allie Nicoli but she is a grade 2 teacher. We added a grade 2 because of the enrollment this year. And then we have Amanda Kendall. We also added a kindergarten because of the enrollment. And then Emily Teixeira is our new K1 inclusion teacher. We also have Bethany Fitzroy. She's going to be part-time here as an adjustment counselor, so it's addition to adjustment counseling. And she also works at middle school. And then we hired Colleen Robichaud. She was our kitchen manager, so we stole her from Chartwell's, and she's our new junior administrative assistant, and she's doing a fabulous job, so we're happy to have her. Then we also have some new halftime paras. All of them are parents of JCS students or previous parents. Erin Riley, Kelly Simpson, Debbie Gantz, and Julie Head. And then we had some changes. Becky Macera was our inclusion teacher, and she went to preschool because one of our preschool teachers moved to Hawaii. And then we have Anne-Marie Baker, who is our new assistant. I know Dr. Bauer is going to introduce her a little bit more, but she was our team chair for 10 years, for our special education team chair, so she's our assistant principal, early childhood coordinator. Gia Sunderland used to be here a couple of years ago as a Title I teacher, and she was a Title I teacher at LGN, and now she is reading coach for all 3 elementary schools. So we're very excited about having a reading coach to work with the teachers. Diana Savage was our pre-K team chair and also LGN team chair, but now she's full-time at JCS. And let me see. Oh, and then we have Miss O'Neill is Mrs. Phillips now, and Miss Bongazone is Mrs. McLaughlin. So we have a couple of marriages during the summer. As far as the enrollment, right now we are at 519. We have 108 preschoolers, 32 full day, and then 76 a.m. p.m. And we have kindergarten is at 98, so the classrooms range from 18 to 21. And first grade is at 92, and those class numbers are between 18 and 19. Second grade has 106, and the classes are from 20 to 22. And then third grade is our largest grade because we went down to 4, so they have from 23 to 26. There's only one class that has 26, and it's a class that has some students who are pulled out for some of the academics in a small classroom, in a language-based classroom. So we typically do that if our numbers are high, so that the core instructional time, some of those students aren't necessarily there. But I think the others are either 23 or 24. So there's no 25. We have 30 school choice students altogether, and 18 DHH students, so that comes to a total of 519. And as far as curriculum, we're very excited about having Lucy Calkins' writing program. We had adopted the reading program a couple of years ago, and I know that teachers are getting training. Mrs. O'Neill has planned all-year training on the reading and writing workshops, so that's excellent. And then we also have a new assessment that for reading for K through 3 that's a little bit more in-depth than what we had been using in the past. I'm also excited about the Panorama portal. I don't know what the proper name of it is. Panorama portal, good enough? Platform, yeah, that's it. So it's a program that we can house all information, attendance, social emotional, and academic for students, so we can get a snapshot of our students all in one place. So we're excited about that. And we continue with the PBIS program. We actually changed our school pledge that we've had many years that the kids, third grade kids a long time ago wrote, to match our PBIS expectations, so it's a little different. And last year was the first year that we tracked student information, office referrals or classroom referrals, where are the misbehaviors happening, what time of the day. So now we have baseline data from last year, so we can really plan better lessons and target those areas that we know we need to work on. And that's it. And I think I have Daniela Boulay here. Are you by yourself? Yes. Yeah, she's from the SBO, and you know the SBO does a lot for us. Enrichment, library, you know, the last couple of years, the Booster-thon, they've raised a lot of money and bought some really nice things for us that we wouldn't have if they weren't here. So I'm going to turn it over to Daniela.
Thank you. I'm just, we're starting off our year good. As Cooper mentioned some of our activities, we've had a family breakfast every morning this week for all the different grade levels. We're going to start our flamingo flocking fundraiser in the next couple of weeks. You'll see the flamingos around town. That was a fundraiser started for a teacher that passed away from breast cancer. And we also have our fall festival coming up. We are participating in the town Halloween parade. And we have lots of exciting enrichment activities and fundraisers and field trips that we support throughout the year. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Daniela. So that's it.
Thank you. I just wanted to introduce the committee as we go to the different buildings with administrators. Anne-Marie Baker. I always slip that name. And Anne-Marie's been with us as a team chairperson in the district for at least 10 years, if I remember correctly. And joins us taking over for Chris Kiefer, as you know, who went to North Attleboro and is now part of Big Red over there, and running her own school. So happy for her. And really amazed, number one, that we had so many interested people internally. That was the first time that we've already had those numbers, and we just feel that Anne-Marie is the right person. She's got a great background in special education, which is, as you know, with the preschool is tremendously, Little Lancers is tremendously important. And then number two, her connection to both being able to service students in the past. So welcome aboard. Thanks for being with us, and don't suspend too many kids. You want to say anything? No. That's what I figured you'd say.
Alright. Any questions or comments? Alright, moving on. Transportation update.
Transportation started very smoothly this year. We are currently assessing about 2 to 3 buses at the JCS that are late in the afternoon. We're going to try and figure something out around that. We did add a bus only exit lane at the high school, which it speeded up the time that we got all the buses off of the high school site. It used to take us about 5 minutes to get them through traffic. They're out on 123 in 1 minute now. All the students riding the bus have bus passes. We are fully collected on all funds except for people who are on payment plans, and they are all in good standing.
Just want to add something to that, if I may. Tremendous work by Matt with a lot of support with folks within the central office who work for him directly or don't even work for him directly. So thanks to all of them. And I think the other part is Norton Public Schools does not control Route 123. I'm going to leave it there. I just don't. Not a whole lot I can do about it. The only thing I can do about it, to be quite honest, is have you support school start times for fiscal 20, I think it's going to be fiscal 22, for September 21 if we decide to go the route of changing school start times. And this school is one of the schools that we seriously have to look at.
Sure. Next up is Fall Town Meeting.
Thank you. Town meeting will be coming up shortly. There's a special within that we have no articles for. And then there's the regular, and I believe it's scheduled for the 21st, is that the date?
October 21st, right.
And that's at Norton High School. We will meet like we normally do prior to, just in case. We left $548,124 in materials, supplies, technology, and professional development on the table to balance our budget. And as we said at FinCom in town meeting last year, we would be coming back with a full amount. We're currently not ordering a whole lot of items, just those things that we have to. It's really important that that we are able to balance our budget for the rest of the year with the materials and supplies that are needed within the classrooms. So that's one. I did meet with the town side, not capital and FinCom, but with Mike Eunice about our presentation going forward. So I do need a vote from you on that article.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the Article 1 for town meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Madam Chair, through you to the rest of the committee, you have the updated request for FY October town meeting for capital standing at $256,000, with the priority being $162,000 for the technology infrastructure, which we also left on the table last year, with an understanding that things are so old that it's becoming more and more of a problem each year.
Just a quick question on this.
Sure.
When I was reading this, it struck me weird. Installing heat in the boys and girls locker rooms,
Yes.
does it not have heat now?
It has heat, but not the proper heat. So I think it's the boys' locker room at the middle school.
Boys, the boys, they both have heat, but the boys' room is controlled by the girls' locker room. That's where the thermostat is.
Well, that's life.
So it gets really, so it's always hot.
I mean, I woke up cold.
We're hoping to put it
because the AC is controlled by something, but it's not me.
So what you're saying is no changes needed, Wade?
So we're going to put another thermostat in the boys'
We're going to be able to control the boys' room eventually, yes.
Okay.
Yep. But to do that, we have to repipe it because it's all under one system right now.
Anything else?
So I need a vote on that as well.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the 5-year capital plan. So moved. Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you for that.
Okay, elementary window project, Mr.
So as Wade comes up, we might as well, before he does his show here, I think it's really, really important to just communicate how hard Wade and his guys have been working with this project. It's been day and night, weekends, and a little frustration to go with it and stress. But just really want to publicly thank you, Wade, and your crew for the work that you guys have been doing to get this done.
It's been my pleasure. This has been an awesome project, honestly. As you walked into the building today, you can see the difference that we've made already. The comments that I've gotten from people on Plain Street that drive by that school every day, it's been all positive. So it's been a lot of work, just like any construction project would be. A lot of sleepless nights. My guys working double time just to try to get us to where we are to open. I think it was 2 weeks before we opened, before windows even started going in at some of the locations. So it was quite a job. But the one thing that I just promised everybody that we weren't going to mess this job up, that we were going to do this job and get it done right. So these windows that are being installed now are just the highest, superior quality stuff that we can get that's out on the market today. The difference that we're seeing already in the classrooms for temperature-wise, as well as sound. The sound is what really impressed me the most. We had tractor trailers out here, and when the windows opened, you could hear everything shutting the windows. You couldn't hear anything, and it was. It's really going to make for a better learning environment for everybody, I think, at the end here. So, with the help of Karina, she helped me put together this little PowerPoint. So I'm really excited to show this off. So really, it's nothing but pictures, but we can just bust through them really quick. So this was the LGN, as you remember, as we started, 2-tier windows. We actually ended up boarding it up for a while. With the help of our staff over there, who was just nothing but positive. It was just, they were so willing to get these new windows that they were willing to help us out. So we actually had school the last month of June, the last couple weeks of June, boarded up like that, and the teachers were actually, they were excited with this, knowing that they were going to get something that was going to be operable. So these are the new windows here. We ended up going all the way to the ceiling with them, and when you're in the classrooms, it makes such a difference. It's so nice. It's so much brighter. It's just, again, just a better learning environment for us, for all our students. So, but there were some scary days during the summer that it didn't quite look like our school. So there's the finished product there. It just, it really looks beautiful. So happy with the color. It just came out so nice.
The AC wood that you see there that's holding up the AC, those will be gone. That's not a permanent.
All front doorway, entranceways, all ADA compliant, all new buzzers, all new hardware. Finally painted the overhang, got some vinyl siding up there. Really gave the school a new look, a very refreshed look here. So these are the things that we completed: new windows, new exterior doors. We actually got a new water bottle fill station there, which is 3 to that school, which again, small things but huge in the world of elementary schools. 2 new bathrooms there, beautiful bathrooms. I can't wait to do the rest of the schools because these are just so nice. And we did the entire exterior painting as well. We're still working on the weather trap over there, which is that the space, there'll be a little glass room when you first walk in, just to kind of break the weather up. So instead of the first doors being open, it'll be a 2-tier layered door system. Security as well. The cafeteria and gym windows, they're working on them tonight. They're scheduled to go in sometime next week. So that school should be completely done in probably 2.5 weeks. They'll be out of that school. Shades, we started putting shades in today. They're going to continue to go. The AC mountain brackets, punch list items that we're just going through now, and then the final inspection. And then JCS, 1978 original windows. Those were, as anybody who went here remembers, the sliders that we had as windows. Yeah, they were nice. And that's the new look there of our new building now, which again just modernizes it. I think it brings it to where it needs to be. One of the comments I had the other day when we were in the classrooms was it was raining out and the teacher could actually open the window up and not get water in the school. And she was just like, it's so nice to have fresh air on a day like today. And it was really nice. So the entranceway is really popped. We decided to go with the red, all numbered, all reflector numbers, which we're on board with the police and fire on that as well. They have all our numbers of our doors in all locations if anything comes up. The JCS was just such a beautiful transformation. So new windows here, new exterior doors. We've got a new bathroom downstairs, ADA compliant, as well as exterior painting. We're waiting on shades here, a few window screens, the AC mountain brackets, and then punch list and final inspection as well here. And then we get to the Henry A. Yell. Thank you. Have a good night. So the time that we had originally for all 3 schools to be done was August 15th. They missed that deadline. We're probably about a week off from being out of this school completely, and about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks at the LGN. And then I think the Yale's actually going to move faster than we think. We are making progress at the Yale school. The teachers have been wonderful. The kids, I don't know if they even know what's going on. I mean, our staff has just been, and Principal Gagan has just been unbelievable over there. He's been so, again, the positivity of this town when we get into these crisis modes. So the Yale school, we ended up getting the front doorway done. It's not completed yet, but at least it was a big project, so we got it up and running, and we've had no issues with this at all. This has been a nice addition to the school. We're working on, we haven't finished anything. We're working on the asbestos cleanup over there. We're also installing a new water bottle fill station there by the main entrance, by the cafeteria and the gym. We're going to go with 2 new bathrooms there, all new exterior doors as well there. Let's see, the window abatement has started on the 3rd floor. And the cafeteria and the gym. So once that window blocking comes in, we'll be sticking it right in there. So I know we have some high hopes of maybe having a ribbon cutting once the asbestos is cleaned up in the front and all the new windows are in there, and get our 5th graders back into there where they belong. And I'm hoping that's sooner than later. We're here in 3 to 6 weeks right now, which you know, we're pushing them hard. I guess too hard. I guess I'm pushing them too hard. But that's been our window project. I can't thank the team at Central Office enough. There's been a lot of days where they just tucked me off the ledge and they were there for me. Great, just huge asset to me. I mean, I can't ask for a better group of people to work with. Everybody, it's been so helpful. So I thank them publicly now. Thank you. It's been an awesome project.
So let's talk about the asbestos, since that's always the elephant in the room in this project right now. So that everybody knows the process, it's a pretty specific process. DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, and DLS, Department of Labor Standards, are both the organizations that require us to go through them. On a day-to-day basis with the asbestos, it's DEP. So the process is a designer sets the plan. The plan goes to DEP, written. Most of them are somewhere between 24 and 48 pages long. They're very specific to the law and the regulations. In between there, DEP may send you something back and say we need clarification on step number 2, page 7, or so on and so forth. That usually takes anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. Once that's done, then they do a final review, and then they put their stamp on it that the next phase of cleaning up or abatement can take place. Then after that phase is completed, we're about to complete a phase either tonight or tomorrow morning. For 24 hours, that area is completely unoccupied by anyone at all. It's been cleaned, and no one can go in there for 24 hours. You come back 24 hours after that for the sole purposes of testing. So this is swabs that are taken of anything that's left in the room. That is sent to the lab. Each of those swabs is $100, by the way. They get sent to the lab, and then those results come back. If it's a phase and it clean and something comes back that it still shows something, that entire area has to be done from scratch, all the way back to the beginning of the phase. So we feel pretty comfortable that things are moving. We have an organization, Karma is the cleanup and abatement company. On the second floor, you're going to see certain classrooms that are going to have completely brand new ceilings. They're going to go cleaning all the way to the top. So literally, you're practically, if you will, asbestos free. Your building's never going to be asbestos free, for the record. None of your buildings are, except the high school and the middle school. All the other schools, any school built 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and even into the early 80s is going to have. As long as the asbestos is not touched and it's away, if you will, it's considered to be fine by regulation. So we're being told 4 weeks, which included this week. So I got 3 left. If I know anything about construction, I'm going to tell you I'm doubling that. So tomorrow, the parents will get an email from me with the latest update. We've been trying to update at least once or twice a week families. We did the staff this afternoon, you here tonight, which also goes public, and then the parents will get an email from me. We continue to apologize that we are even undergoing this, but we have a classroom in the gym for music. We have a classroom in the cafeteria, which has actually become the biggest classroom in the district, and the teacher, I think, is like, and the kids are now liking it because it's so big and there's so much space. And then everyone else is an actual, what would be considered a classroom, if in fact those areas were used for classrooms, and they're not. They're used for partly, some of them, 3 of them are used for office space. That means every administrator is doubling up with someone else right now. So that's become a little bit of an issue because we have confidential information and all that other stuff. But Wade and Jen are in Karen's office now, along with Alex and Sam. I have a roomie, Matt. It's pretty. We've let the conference room open solely for the purposes of, to be quite honest, a combination of lunches for people. Like, for example, the lunchroom in the Yale for the staff is now a classroom. It was actually an old classroom originally, old home ec classroom. So that's kind of where we are. Our biggest concern is really just trying to get the kids and the staff back. The kids have been great. I've been checking in between my office and someone else's central office. We've been in those classrooms on a regular basis, asking. A couple of the concerns is on the second floor, there are items that have been bagged and are being tested for the purposes of, can we actually return those to the classroom, or does it have to be disposed? We've also asked the teachers to create master lists of anything that is personal to them. All of us as educators end up with something personal in our classrooms. What has to be thrown out, we may have a financial obligation to. In terms of materials and supplies, the classrooms are up and running. They have what they need for that first month of school. Hopefully in the next, I'm hearing mid-next week, we'll know what the next phase will be, which would be the second part of the second floor being cleaned and then tested. And that would bring us, that's going to be the hardest part of the job. That will probably take about a week and a half, they're saying, to 2 weeks. Retest that area again, and then we have to bring in the hanging ceiling company to do the hanging ceilings. And then the last phase becomes, do I return everybody back at that point and work around the windows? As you can, if you've started to see the front end of the Yale, you'll start to see that the third floor windows are being popped out, replaced by wood like we did at the LG and here. And so what will happen next is, it's so easy for them to pop those windows. They literally can do more than one classroom a night. All they have to do the next night is come back and caulk them, but they can be open, they can be utilized, they're safe, so on and so forth. So the question will be, do we do that, or do we say to the company, if you gave me 3 days to do the second floor, is that enough time? And then the kids would just be back right away and not have to worry about moving things away from the window so they can work at night and all that stuff. So that's the plan. We really had set up this year for a good year. It's still a great year, but it has caused some significant stress. And most importantly, it didn't happen when school was in session, because that would have been awful situation. I'm sure some of you are thinking about financials and what does this mean. That's all part of this process. Once we go through getting the building open, then we have to sit down, as I call it, the big boy meeting, where we have to figure out, who is actually paying for this, who's the role, what's the role, where does it come from. And I have informed the town finance committee and the town manager that those are all things that will be coming later on.
When you say the parents are going to be emailed, it's just the Yale parents?
Yeah, it's just the Yale parents. Yep.
And wait, I have one question for you. When I was at the Moore School, I can't believe the difference in those classrooms. I mean, they look completely different. But one thing that Principal Luke was concerned about was that the windows opened so far that it's right at the kids' eye level and right at the bookcases, so there was some concern about kids walking into them or standing up too quick or whatever. She had mentioned there might be some stoppers put in there.
Yes. So here already at the Solomons, we've already installed the stoppers so they're not sticking into the classrooms too much. They can only open them so far. We have decided, because it is child guard glass, to leave 1 or 2 windows that do open the full length. So if we need to get anybody outside that classroom, we can use that because they're not going to be able to break it. So this way here, that we can get them through the window.
Yeah.
So there'll be a couple of windows in each classroom. That way they'll be marked. I'm not sure with a red handle or red. We're not sure what we're going to do yet, but those 2 windows will be labeled. And the teachers have to be aware of these. You can open them to any. It's not like they just fall down. You can actually open them to, so they'll know which 2 they're into. That was a consideration that we took here, especially because there they have the 2-foot bookshelf that sticks out to the classroom. So you had the room here. You were right up against the window, so we had to be really careful. Here I think we're opening them 6 to 8 inches here. Okay. So enough to get some good. And again, the glass is superior glass to what we had before. I mean, we had single pane. This is all top of the line stuff. I mean, you can't feel the heat coming through it. You know, it's really going to help our energy bills. It's going to make for just a much more comfortable space to be in.
Quick question on the asbestos. When you say that there's still some asbestos in the and there will be when this is completed, I'm assuming that's because that's not easily accessible. Is that
both not easily accessible or not in an active situation where it needs to be cleaned?
Okay, what does that mean?
That would mean something behind a wall.
Okay, so not easily accessible.
If they did a swab in an area of testing, there may be asbestos above it, but there's none in the room, nothing in the product. They're not going to open up and go up.
Right. So is that the situation in the LG and here as well?
Yeah, so the situation here.
Here is in the caulking or the glue that they use for the floors or the windows, and that's or actually the roof, actually, where they have it here. But that's as long as it's not disturbed, it's undercover, it's safe. We don't have asbestos as the old tiles or sealant tiles, or the Yale is all insulation pipe. That the old steam pipes are all
right. Yeah, so the insulation pipes I think are less likely to get disturbed. So my only concern is that the same thing happens in another school, but it sounds like that's not.
No, it's less likelihood of that happening. And remember that you're talking about the 1948 section of a building where the elbows are where the concern always happens with the wrapping. So it's been properly wrapped, but the problem is since 1948, it's started to deteriorate, and so it usually happens at the elbows, which is where they believe this happened.
Yeah, that building's still steam, and those steam pipes bang, and there's a lot of movement on those pipes still. So, and most of them are behind walls and above the ceilings. This is why we never had an issue with them before. But once we opened the ceilings,
it's a double ceiling, by the way.
That's when they discovered that it had to be dealt with.
The only other time, to your question, I think if this is the way you're asking it in terms of other schools, but in this case, this school would be if we eventually, which we know we're going to have to put in a new heating system at the Yale a few years, hopefully down the road, many years after I'm already retired, I hope, because steam is not efficient. It's not the way to go. Then that would have to require an abatement process.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it was also just a concern of should we somewhere in our master plan start thinking about abatement in the JCS and the LG as well.
Typically, the recommendation is you leave it where it is. Remember, we have an AHERA plan, and every 6 months our schools are reviewed. So they're reviewed physically by a specialist whose sole job is asbestos, and they log the areas where asbestos may be, and that's the areas they go to. And then they also check behind walls, and they do the climbing and get behind things to take a look at it.
The age of these buildings, we're pretty safe. It's the smallest spaces that they used it in, and that won't get disturbed until you go to remove something. That's when you're going to have the issues on those schools. So the AHERA reports are in each main office, and they are updated, as Dr. Bayard said, every 6 months, as well as on my website. If you go to the school's website, you go to the facilities department, all our asbestos that is in all three of our buildings.
It's actually a compliment that we received, not only from our OPM on the project, but also from the state saying you're updated, which is not necessarily where everybody always is. So that was a good thing. Everything else,
Anything else?
Thanks, Wade.
Thanks, Wade. All right, on to the athletic complex.
Thank you. So I have a few things to share with you tonight. If you indulge me for a few minutes, I try to keep it relatively quiet. These are quick. Yeah, so the first one's up. So, as you know, town meeting provided via the capital plan up to $20,000 for the purposes of the athletic complex to put together a report. We started that actually on July 9th because we had to wait until the new fiscal year. And we put together the report, the complex idea, which had been sitting on our capital improvement plan for the last 4 years. Just want to make sure that everybody gets that, because there are some rumors out there that this is just something that came out of nowhere. It's been in our capital plan for 4 years, and it was voted by town meeting to give us the funds to be able to, through capital and FinCom, to provide us some abilities to look at this. Why do we need to even look at this? We have a high school field that has significant issues, and we have practice facilities and game facilities behind the yell where you really can't even practice anymore. It's becoming that bad. And then you've got the pit field way in the back where the moment it rains, it's gone. So what we decided to do is look at what would be the options, and we hired Gale as the leading company to do it. We got bids or quotes, and they got it. Very reputable company have done most of the Tri-Valley League and Hockomock League schools. They've become very much specialists in this area. So long story short, we put together a working committee. Aaron Sumner, our athletic director, Wade Lazat, Matt Wells, and myself, along with invited local coaches from the town leagues, head coaches at the high school, the principal, and we had one meeting, and then we took it from there from the purposes of do people think that this is a good idea to have to look into because we have such space issues. So what we did is we put it together and we started to look at, and this is option A that came in first. And in this particular option right behind the Yale School, you have all new turf fields, tennis courts, and a natural grass pit field that would be upgraded. And then you would have an upgraded natural field at the high school. This total cost, no other field would be done except for some of the, if you will, eating areas, if you will, here, the sitting areas here, ADA compliance, those types of things. So that came in, and you have the handout tonight, at a cost of $9,386,723. So we passed it out, got some more feedback. So option B became the next one. Option B became all of the pretty much, oh, by the way, this whole area over here includes lighting, all new lighting on both. Option B became, what are we saying about this field here in terms of, the options that are available to us? And if I remember correctly, does that say that's a turf field on that one now? No, that's still the natural, and we shifted the field going this way instead of this way. That's the only major change, and that comes in at $9,285,000. Okay?
The turf field too is smaller.
And it's slightly smaller. It's about I can't remember the yardage on there, but it's slightly smaller in terms of this field, this field here. So instead of it going this way, it's coming this way, and then this is actually shortened.
So can you just identify what those fields are?
Sure. So you're looking here, and all three of them is the same thing. You're looking at just here in this elbow. You're looking at softball, baseball, and then you've got lacrosse, soccer fields all in here. Okay. So you got multiple sports. You got fall seasons, spring seasons, and potentially football as well. Okay. And then here's just it's just the natural field on A and B. On C, we move it, and you'll see it on this, you move it to a 6-lane track and synthetic turf field reconstruction. So now this is turf, 6-lane. You end up moving the baseball field to the far corner where the pit field's redone with the baseball field. So you're going to ask why. We offered the town of Norton to place the senior center at the current baseball field. We offered that because educationally I think it makes a lot of sense. We moved the tennis courts, giving them access to both the fields and the tennis courts. That is, I believe, totally off the table. The town has no interest in putting the senior center there. So that's gone. So
I
we,
have a question.
Yep.
So when we were keeping the football field as a natural grass field, we feel that that's not going to cause a problem because not every sport is playing on it anymore?
no, the problem is that if we kept it as a regular natural field, we're still going to, a few years from now, end up with the same problem. It's just too much wear and tear.
Even with just one sport?
Right.
Okay.
And the inability to play other sports at the same time. You know, girls' sports and boys' sports at the same time. One's on a natural field, one depending on the sport.
Global warming too.
Okay, global warming. Big words today. Option D. Option D, we went with the 8-lane track, complete new track, straightaway and circular, and turf field. We continue with the complex here in terms of the food area, if you will, the pavilion, and the same size. We kept the tennis, and we added this as a grass field. So just a total update to the pit as a grass field only. Again, all lighting, tennis courts are here, more parking, and again, this is my office area and the yell here, the walkways, and so on and so forth. And that comes in at $9.5 million. And then we went to the option before you. Option E. You have an 8-lane straightaway and full and a turf field with all new lighting. You have the same complex with all new lighting. We did not go with the parking, but we do have the walkways, if you see it here, connected. The baseball field hasn't changed. The softball field hasn't changed. The pit field has not changed. It remains as is. There's no work done to it. The tennis courts are not done. The idea is that we would redo the tennis courts at the middle school. This comes in at 7.225, which is a significant. Now here's the plus and the negative. The plus and the negative is you still got to, you know, as part of all of this, you have soft costs in the 7.2 million. All of these have soft costs and contingency costs, right? Because they usually put in anywhere from 10 to 20%. So the 7.2 million we know is higher because of some of that. That's number one. Number two, it still has to go to bid if you in fact support it, and that's the way we go. So the price would come under 7.2. It could go up above 7.2. Just like any building project that you do, you have a set of money that you're looking at. You vote, you get a positive vote. If that vote goes through, if you can save, you save. If you're above, then you have to make the decision to not get certain things. We think that the paving here, which we eventually would do, any paving projects we've done with the town come in a lot less expensive by working with the town than if we go out as part of a project like this, i.e. some of the $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 parking lots that we've done since I've been here. And then the second part becomes, when you look at this, it gives us what we need. We have the football field, 8-lane track, and all of that here, and we have practice and game facilities here, and both areas are under lighting. We haven't looked necessarily at what type of light. We have a recommendation of lighting, but some of the ideas here is, do we go with solar? Do we take a look at solar lighting for the entire athletic complex, thereby potentially creating a savings long-term for us as well, either with carports here and here, or utilizing other spaces throughout, like other campuses have done. More than likely it's carports. But,
so would the pit still need to be used?
the pit could still be used as a practice field, but we wouldn't necessarily use it as a game field at all.
And you'd also be, when you're doing all this construction, you're taking a lot of, fill that you could put on the pit field.
So that we would be able to touch this up, if you will. One of the things that I have here is the potential to put some type of irrigation, so that we can actually, when not in use. We also, by the way, for the record, at the meeting that I had, some folks, we also put forward to the chair of the building committee, we also put forth that if the senior center didn't go here, that it could go here, because there is an access road there. It's gated, which would mean that if the senior center would here, again, through you providing them that at no cost, but that's also off the table.
Can I ask why that's off the table? Like why
I think the building committee is looking at X number of properties. I don't have the specifics, and I believe that they're looking at a piece of property to buy to put both the senior center and the town hall together.
One of the issues with the senior center, because I go to the permanent building committee meetings, is Beth Rossi, who runs the senior center, also does the community outreach. and the food pantry is there. So to put the senior center right there, where you have the food pantry and the community outreach, they were concerned with privacy, because that's for not just seniors, that's for anybody in our
It's
town.
like right in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's, so they haven't been invited to consider that side option?
Oh, we talked about it.
Because I just wonder.
We talked about that or a town hall.
One of the things that potentially I know has happened over the past few years is this kind of deep interest in trying to make a stronger connection with the senior center and Norton Public Schools. And one of the things that we have offered is sort of that senior pass to kind of allow them to come to any sort of event, whether it's a sporting event or. So I guess I'm just interested to know that side would have sort of a separate access. Mm-hmm. You know, I just am not sure why.
I know we talked about that night. More work would have to be done in that area, right, Joe? As far as the
it's got to be regardless of who does it. If we make it into a turf field, we're going to have to do more work in that area because that area has some water issues. Mm-hmm. But that's going to be, I think, any time you build anything, those are the issues that come up. I don't want to. I mean, I proposed it here. We talked about it here, but it was put here in one of the pictures, as you know, one of the maps. To me, not knowing some of the specifics, and I'll defer to the town folks. There are senior centers that are built next to. The city of Swampscott's senior center is in their high school, in the high school. I think the issue here is that the senior center director feels that because of some other issues that she has a responsibility for to the town, that it makes it a concern. I think I'm less worried about privacy, but the issue is that she feels strongly that there's some concerns about that, and I can't say that I blame her for those things, because her role is multitask. Most towns' senior center director is a senior center director. Here, it's senior center director and human resources for the town. So I don't know if that's going to continue. I'm going to guess it does, but not knowing what the operating cost is for any new senior center, because I haven't seen any, and it's not my place to opine on it. I thought about the educational benefit.
I think there might be other reasons that the COA at the last PBC meeting had said that they had discussed it, but they didn't talk about it at the PBC meeting because they were moving on to another piece of property. Mm-hmm. So I think that as time goes on, they might be willing to share. I know they were willing to share why they didn't think it was a great fit. So I think we just kind of have to wait and hear when the time is right for them to speak on it. I just had a couple of questions, though, and I don't know if it's for Aaron maybe, but so just for the public to know, why would we go from a 6-lane to an 8-lane, first of all, with the tracks? That's the first question. And the second thing I think is important for people to be made aware of, from your perspective, what happened last year with our sports? Why we, and I know Joe touched on it a little bit, but as far as where our lacrosse teams played and practiced, you know, using other schools as home. So maybe just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about your first point first, is the 8-lane track. If you have the 8-lane track, first thing we can do is tell Wheaton we have an 8-lane track. They don't have home track meets right now in the spring, so they would be able to use the track, rent the track from us. One thing we do with Wheaton is if we use their indoor track, they don't charge us for it, but they collect admission and they get the concession money. Our booster clubs would be able to get, you know, take a piece of that concession money, all of it, essentially. So that would be really good for the organizations in town. And you can host state track meets. So if we get an 8-lane track, we're on the radar right away from the MIA. They're saying, okay, you're a host site. Once you're in, you're kind of in, and they keep coming back. So that's a good thing. If we have this and this, now you're talking about hosting big events. 4 Kicks in Taunton, they host tournaments. They have to limit the number of teams. If they know down the road there's 2 more turf fields they can use, they'll use them, and they'll have even more teams there.
Do you have a sense of the kind of rental fees we could generate?
Typically, if it's local, if you're doing it with the town, you probably won't have any rental fees. It'd be more of a scheduling thing.
Yeah, I'm talking more about the 4 Kicks.
Clubs, you're talking $150 to $200 an hour if it's a light. And if it's a field this big, it's even more. You're talking that's going to be $300 an hour.
You're talking per field, right?
Right, per field.
So if we had that pit field as a turf field as well, we have 3 possible fields to use at up to $300 an hour. So just shy of $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Well, a couple things though, with 4 kicks, what you get per hour is the smaller field. You don't get a full-size field for $275 an hour. And the other piece to this too is, there was a certain soccer club that paid upwards of $15,000 to use Attleboro's field last year.
Correct.
That club is no longer around, but for rental fees, and clubs are scarce for because that's the biggest thing with clubs is space, and especially something with lighting.
One of the things that makes us a little unique from a lot of other folks is we're literally right off of 495 and 123, and in the summertime the traffic isn't as bad, and so on and so forth. So that's one. But let's just talk about Norton Public Schools first, right? Before we think that way. This entire back area, we're not that far away from having to close it off, and our kids can't practice back there. The amount of divots. Remember, if I'm misspeaking, tell me. But I've been told that literally tree stumps have been buried back there when other stuff was moved. So that's part of the problem here. Is that, and there is no other way for us to fix it, because although this would be synthetic and so on and so forth, just dumping in a bunch of looms and layers of it's not going to help us. First of all, we don't have the irrigation system in place to be able to just grow grass. And right now, my biggest concern is that this gives us the plan, and now if you're talking to Dinez's point, that you can bring in $300, $600, $900 potentially an hour, and yes, I think a lot of people are going to say, well, that's a hoax. We can get you examples of how that's happened, and those of us involved in sports, so like I've been as a coach, we know what we've had to pay when we run private clubs, because I used to coach them years ago. Before it was that kind of money, we thought it was too expensive. What we should do is long-term think about how to establish a specific revolving account or line item within our facilities revolving account that pays back these fields over time. So when you have to 10, 15, 20 years down the road resurface something or touch it up in some way, shape, or form, you potentially have a facilities revolving account that has some type of money that at minimum could support the upgrade.
So to that point, can I I'm sorry, just one more question, because in my head I was thinking if we get all these rentals in, because I think that we really need to start looking hard at the athletic fees. I think that it's hard for families to pay as much as they pay for athletic fees. So there's no way with rentals that would go into more of a facilities account instead of trying to offset some of the
you could, as a school committee, you can do whatever the heck you want. How's that? You can establish as part of your policy that the monies that come from here are going to be split on 50% going towards keeping the upgrades and 50% to offset no athletic fields, because I do think you could raise that type of money.
So I wonder if it's an option, and I know this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but I wonder if you can reach out to some of your coaches and see, or if you know, if participation is down because of what the athletic fees are per sport. Yeah.
You got to be careful about looking at that, because yes, we can, and we will. How's that? So we'll do that. The issue sometimes is not the athletic fee. It's students leave, students come in.
Yeah.
And so, like for example, if you have 20 less students in a high school this year, you can't just say, well, you have 15 less athletes per se.
No, I understand that.
So,
yeah.
And we have made it very clear that the district is willing and wanting to work with families. And we have been at $350 now for each sport for 4 years. So, we're entering our 4th year at $350. So it's high, yes, we agree, but at the other time, it's also been frozen for 3-4 years while all expenses have gone up at minimum of 3 to 4%.
Well, one thing I know that I can speak to, and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but spring track has definitely took a hit. Spring track, because at the time it was pay your fee for fall, pay your fee for winter, and then you got your spring for free. Spring track took a huge hit.
So what would be, how do we plan around this so that we're not displacing our sports teams?
Well, fortunately, I know where all the other fields are because I had to use them last year.
Okay, so that was the part of her second.
You're going to have to use the middle school,
and you're going to have to travel.
You're
probably
going to have to
give up. You're going to have to give away more away games, which is going to increase our transportation account.
Yep.
It'll decrease our
current field. And we used the YMCA field last year.
So in one of the first meetings too with Gail, they had said that they can complete one turf field, so that can at least be used, right? And
yeah.
Work on another.
So we made the problem with phasing. You have to remember is that it's going to depend on how you bid it, because if you phase, all of a sudden this could go up $400,000 in one fiscal year. So we want to bid it and then have that kind of like we've done with the window project with hopefully no asbestos, where what we can do is say we would like to see this be built first because maybe we know we have to move more loom or we have to move more stuff
That's
before
what
we do
I meant
and
by
do
that, not phasing.
And to be honest with you, this field is so bad, any disruption here isn't really going to affect anything.
So if I could just, Aaron, kind of clarify what you said, so that everybody who's watching can hear. Last spring season for lacrosse, for example, the athletes weren't able to play.
Yeah, they
in
did
Norton.
not play at
So,
Norton High School. They played at
I'm not sure if
Finberg.
you know if sort of
so
the
they played
community
at the Finberg
was.
line
At a
here.
fee.
At a
And
fee.
we paid for it.
Okay.
I'm not sure that if
That was
the
$225
community knew that kids had to actually leave Norton to go over to the Y to use their field.
Don't forget also that these are potential. This sets us up for our current partners that we work with, Norton Youth Soccer, Norton Youth Football, etc., to move here, to be partners, if you will. And to be quite honest, the school committee will have to decide. But I think that limited to no cost is how you get our kids whose parents are paying your tax money for something to utilize these fields, and then we utilize a protocol and procedure for those people from out of town, like we do with other stuff when people rent our facilities.
So I know this is off topic, and I know that this is sort of, I think we're speaking about fields that the high schoolers use, but I'm just wondering about the playground that's sort of right there at the L. So is there any?
Playgrounds on this side here.
Yeah.
And then recess has actually been, gym class has been going out for the Yell, and they've been using this area here. They would still have this area, they'd have the pit field, or they actually have the turf field.
And I
to play on.
totally get that. I'm just wondering about updating that.
It's not part of your bid, so
I
it's
know
not
it's
part of what
not,
we put
but-
forward. So, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't say that you wanted to spend X number of dollars here to do the upgrade as part of this project.
Because if we do something that really creates this amazing environment for our high schoolers, putting the Yell children on that playground would be,
It's not as nice.
it's tired. It's really tired. And I'm sure, I was here a few years back when my children were at JCS, and it took us a long time to build a playground here, and I'm sure that playground's getting tired. And it was a lot of work.
So we do have playgrounds coming forward on our recommendations for capital to the ad hoc committee. It's already been put in on a couple of our recommendations as part of the big picture of what do we see as big items over the next X number of years that may be in our capital or may not be, that people have said, what, these are the type of things that we have to put on the docket if in fact we're going to prioritize them. Tonight is all about giving you examples and samples of this, having you think about it.
So
the next time, we have a meeting scheduled for the 30th in the evening with the full facility committee to see what they think. So because I think they should be giving you thoughts on what they think. Hey, listen, the tennis courts is not fair. We have to put them back in there. Hey, we need to add the playground at the same time. Potentially, I guess we could make that argument. We'd have to get a recommendation on that. But some people might think that parking here has to happen. Because where everybody's going to park, I'm going to make an argument that's just a nice walk. It's a beautiful walk actually, and there's plenty of parking in the afternoon back here too. Then we would, I'm trying to come up with a roadshow with the coaches and parents district-wide, seeing if I can maybe attend some of our some of our partners in the town's meetings and say this is what we're thinking, your input is graciously wanted. I don't think there's a rush to have a vote on this on October 1st or something, but we do want to have some type of a vote from the school committee going forward, I would say, prior to Thanksgiving.
So, I know we had some teams displaced last year. I guess my question, what if we do nothing? How bad is this going to get? Is it going to get
This field needs to be shut down.
Yeah, that field is, if I go to an AD meeting, they're like, can we play in the field if they see it drizzling? If the question comes up, are we going to be able to play in the field? It's going to be safe. That's definitely an issue. I'm looking at the weather forecast and thinking, where could I play this game if that weather forecast really happens? Last year was a perfect example there.
Because I know we had this discussion, a year or so back. The issue with the track is because we have stone dust and that what would be the first lane, that kicks into the track and eats it up, right?
Yeah, if you walk the track now, it's getting close to having to be resurfaced.
It's a problem because it should never have been stone dust.
Yes.
And if you remember, there was a bigger area of stone dust that actually Keith from the highway department helped to paved because that entire area walkway was all that material. So this is a first step. This is not a completed step. It's not a recommendation. It's a first step, but we want you to start thinking about what are your priorities in terms of this recommendation. I do think it's important. Your town meeting doesn't typically have updates on reports that have been paid for by capital or something else, but I do think at some point, this is where the $20,000 came from, looking at all of these options for the town.
And the $20,000 was approved at a town meeting.
Yes, as a line item
all
within.
Of this. So this is not something new. This is something that's been in the works for a while, to be perfect.
And it was approved at the May town meeting of 2019 as a capital item to literally fact-find the athletic complex idea of what this would look like, so that you can actually then figure out how much you really need to spend.
I have asked the moderator to see if we can do a quick presentation at the fall town meeting in October. So I'm just waiting to hear back on that. So this plan here, Joe, D,
yep.
or no, E?
E.
There's no concession stand.
Correct. The only concession stand is the one that you still have here. Yep.
And how does that look? How does that work?
If you look at all the line items on there, the concession stand that they had proposed was very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So that concession stand was built by students from Southeastern.
Yeah.
It does not have running water. It does not have a bathroom. The building has to be open for that purposes. Board of Health, you can't cook things there because you don't have running water.
Which building?
This is the concession stand. But I'm not sure that that's the type of cost where it needs to be absorbed in that type of a project. It's something that can be phased in later, potentially.
Because I think you'd almost need a second.
Well, the recommendation is that
snack shack.
Yeah, they're recommending something here. We also did. We're thinking more of the porta potties that are now put in these types of facilities because, to be quite honest, I'm a little concerned about outside bathrooms and the responsibility that we would have to those. People typically don't want to go into a porta potty unless to do what they need to do, versus physical bathrooms where it becomes a problem.
But now if somebody's visiting our school, spectator, if they've used a bathroom, they're going into the high school.
They're here at the high school, correct.
Okay. Okay.
We have to, by regulation, when there's a game, have bathroom exit.
Now, if we get into and this is kind of down the road, if this comes to light and we are entering into agreements, do we have to have staffing on hand for those?
So we do have some staffing requirements. As an example, for example, we have a traditional anytime this field is used by anyone because they have to access the bathroom. The question what we would have to do is we would probably want some type of security. So we'd probably use our custodial staff who typically have done security or have the responsibility of the buildings when their buildings are able to be open. And it's really simple. You still need someone who's there for sole purposes of being your employee. But you don't, it depends on, you can roll that into like we do now, you can roll it into the cost of what the cost for the custodian on an hourly basis. So this could be an example. This could be $300 an hour, but it's going to be $355 because you're charging them the $55 for the custodian, as an example. So we'll put this under old business in your agenda so we can continue to.
Yeah, one real quick comment.
Yep.
The pit field, not doing some into that, whether it be rehabbing or making a turf field, I think that's a mistake. I actually think it's a financial mistake. I think it makes your complex more appealing on a rental basis, and kind of just back of the napkin. I would assume you could do 20 days of 6-hour tournaments in a year. I think that's reasonable. And again, back of the napkin, you're talking about $90,000 a year. You're paying for more than 10% of the cost, or slightly less if we do a turf, but pretty close to 10% of your cost every year. Now that's That's the cost of just that, not everything.
Right.
I'm assuming everything.
You're paying this off literally in almost 10 years.
But I think that makes it appealing. I think we have this field with this field, and then we have nothing else. Kind of makes you a little.
Well, Aaron's taking notes tonight, as you can see, so he'll make sure that the next design has that back in it.
If you want to add a turf field, I'm all in.
Well, the thing is, don't get me wrong. I'm not like, hey, let's, money's free, but just your return on that field, I think, happens pretty quickly. And again, I'm making some assumptions, but I don't think my assumptions are unreasonable by any stretch. So just something to think about. I mean, I think rehabbing it was $700 and turf is $1 million, which, listen, I get it, the big numbers. But at the same time, if you can get close to $100,000 a year back in return by putting in that third field, I think that's something you got to think about, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think we need to think about the longevity of this as well in the future,
right.
and not be so short-sighted, because I sometimes think in town we just kind of are a little short-sighted with things. So I think we need to think about the long term.
Don't forget that the Tri-Valley League, you're down to 2 communities without turf field.
Yeah, it's us and Millis.
Us and Millis, that's it. Everybody else, and Bellingham is going off of fields 2 and 3 as we speak. They've already done
And
one.
Medway has 3. And Medway has the biggest rental.
And this is the Hawkinson, Holliston.
Yep,
This is the Hawkinson complex. It's literally a duplicate.
So can you get together some information for us of what some of these other districts are bringing in for rental? I think that's going to be very helpful going forward, so that the community can see what that will look like for us, instead of just saying it. If we have some real proof of what, that'd be helpful.
And then, can I just ask a final question? So if there's something on option A that we like, but maybe we want to add it into a different, can you sort of
You can say
take
yes.
parking out and then add something in?
Yes.
Or,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You can take anything. For example, if you really think that the parking and concessions is important, or if you really think the tennis courts are too important to put here because it puts all the athletics in one place, and actually we're also trying to grow our tennis program at the middle school, yes, you can prioritize that, and they give us the flexibility to go back to them and design another one. Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you. We'll be back.
Moving on, vote to approve our new logo.
So thank you to Karina, who is here in the back. We've been working on trying to rebrand ourselves. So what you have before you is the beginning of that process. And we wanted to get this out early because our organizations are asking, they're doing things already, they want to see it. So this would be your new N, which doesn't belong to anyone else. It would be original to us. We'd be able to patent it or copyright it. I can't remember which word it is. And copyright. And then be able to publish it. We are using a very specific color. That's why you have this. This would be now part of our athletic program. This would be part of our parent organizations. Anyone who wants to utilize our N appropriately would have to ask for permission to do so. And any other N going forward would not be ours. Now, for those people that are worried about what does this mean, this takes forever. This is a transition. Only the colleges are able to take the $20 million, put it to the side, and bring in $40 million worth of stuff. So yes, there's going to be uniform stuff for a number of years. They're going to be transitioning to it. It's part of the whole process. And then the second one that we'll come back with is the logo that goes with this. But this is our stuff. It does require your vote.
And if you notice on the bottom, I think, Karina, on the bottom when there are numbers, those are your codes for either a computer or if you're having a shirt or something made, so that the colors will be consistent, right?
So can I just ask a question? What makes this N different than our last N?
Yes. So you get a hook.
I mean, I know the purples are a little bit different.
The
There's like a
purple is
specific shade.
Right.
Yeah, the main difference is that it doesn't belong to the Nebraska Huskers. I didn't want to change it too much because I know people are very particular in keeping up that tradition and pride of what we had, but I also wanted to make it our own.
So what exactly is different from the old
It's
N?
more proportional. The old N was a bit more narrow, it's a little longer, and yeah, it doesn't have that lip on the extra side.
Okay.
And you have the hook. See the hook right there?
Yeah.
So how do we?
Let me see.
Oh, see.
Can I see the old one?
Is it the old one?
Yeah. That's the. So you see the hook on the right side? The hook is gone?
Yeah.
And the color's different.
Totally different.
Thanks, Karina.
He knows numbers, not colors.
So let me tell you a quick story about a school about 20 miles south of us who had to completely change their sports program, everything to do with the entire sports program in 1 year. Cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars because their looked like Virginia Tech, and they got a letter from the president of the college saying you will no longer be using this because you are cheating us. You're using ours, and theirs was copyrighted, patented. The high school's wasn't. So they had to change it, and they had a year to do it. The other part of it that goes with this is we have a lot of patents, as you guys all know, since I've been here, as you all know, since I've gotten here, the first thing we did was try to change some of our logos because we had 9, 10 different logos going on. Our athletic programs and boosters, they just decide what they want. Well, they've just been told what it is. Show up with another uniform that you paid for, that you just paid for brand new, I'm going to be telling them that, the athletic director is going to be telling them that's not approved. Can't use it, doesn't represent the district. It's that simple.
But like you said, it will be phased out.
It's phased, absolutely has to be phased out.
So Karina, how do we know, like this end, when we're sharing this with some of the boosters or whatever, how do...
They have to ask me for it.
Oh, so you're...
Yeah.
Okay, so you're telling them what
Once
that
you
end...
vote, I'd ask you to go to the Town of Natick's Public Schools website. Their logos are there, and it's written permission to utilize by any organization of the district through the principal's office, or in this case, my office as well, or you can't use it.
I can't wait to start suing people.
Maybe the cost of your facilities will come down.
I'm just going to walk around town, and we do the N in their sign. Like, that's our N.
Well, that's what other people can do if they're registered, properly registered.
So the logo that we have of the Lancer, is that somebody else's?
That belongs to someone else.
That's a shame.
Don't say who.
That's a good
sue
logo.
us.
I know. Okay.
All right, so we need
That portion of all of this is going to take a lot longer because there's going to be a lot more input from people and a lot more opinions versus an N.
Yeah. Without a vote.
Without a vote.
So we need a vote to approve the logo and colors as what we have in front of us. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Sure about that white.
He's not even listening to it. All those in favor? Aye.
And we will move on to personnel update.
Thank you. You have a list before you of all of the changes. Believe it or not, it's actually a shorter list than last year. We have the resignations, the retirements, the leaves of absences, the appointments, and we have the reassignments, FTA changes. We even have, not on here either, some people that have moved out of buildings in towards the end of the year or part of the changes. So this is all, you don't need to vote this, but this is just what I share with the FinCom. If you remember last year, I started sharing with them because they're going to say, look at all these new people, because they that's the reason why we started to do this. So I plan to put this in a memo form and send it to them along with the other information on personnel. I should say not personnel, the transfer at the end of the year that you'll be voting on next.
Dr. Mayor, do we currently have openings still, or are we
have posted for a part-time para, and we have no teaching. We might have some long-term subs coming up for medical.
Well, we have a gym.
We just had a resignation in physical and wellness. Yes, thank you. And 2 part-time paras and 2 part-time paras. Sorry, I didn't have that with you.
That doesn't mean anything.
Nope.
Okay. Moving on, Mr. Wells, vote to approve transfers.
So we finished out the year, FY19, and we finished out with $160,568.86 in salaries that we needed to transfer to support expenses, and we need a vote to make that transfer.
Second.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. This is within our budget. This is not new funds. It's within our budget. Thank you, Mrs. Sabas.
I agree.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And now we will move on to other business.
I informed parents earlier today about a PSA, public service announcement, by an organization called the Sandy Hook Promise. an unfortunate situation, as we all know, in the elementary school in Connecticut in December of 2012, where there was gun violence and the murder of young children. Devastating. I think any of us as parents and as people involved in schools and anywhere, we know how, we can only imagine how bad it was. But today, that organization, which was put together by parents and supporters, I happen to be someone that's on their site all the time and get their information. It's an organization that really takes a look at mental health and gun violence and really wants to try to do something for it. But I wanted to inform parents that there was a PSA that's been done. It's on social media. I expect the news to be talking about it. Where I haven't been home yet, so. But I'm concerned that this public service announcement is going to cause some stress for children. All of us who have young kids, but even those of us who have older kids who might just get nervous about that and worry about their safety in school. Unfortunately, the PSA ends in a situation where a young, looks like a teenage girl is in a bathroom, texting her mom and commenting about, you know, how she has her cell phone to communicate with her mom, and basically is sending the last message because all you hear is the door open and then footsteps, i.e. the perception I get from that is here comes the shooter. And it ends there. What is difficult, as I communicated to the staff today as well, is that there are no adults in this video. All of the work that we do in schools about safety are at the core of our adults trying to think on their feet. In our case, we utilize the ALICE protocols and to make the best decisions they can in a difficult situation. So to not have, or to have a PSA that basically shows the abandonment of the adults to the kids, and the kids are just breaking windows, I just think it's a little overboard. And I sent a message to the parents of, you know, be educated on this, get educated on it, and have conversations with your children, because I'm concerned that our students who are worried all the time, or worry about being in school, because that does happen with some children, that this type of a message, in my professional opinion, to be quite honest, my personal opinion, I think it went overboard. And I think our parents need to just, if you know, please take my message. I didn't put down the name of the video. I just said the Sandy Hook Promise Organization. I figured people could Google and do it themselves. And I did it as a email because, as you all know, I never phone these types of messages because I don't know who's picking up the phone. I don't know if it's your cell phone as a parent or if it's actually your house phone and your child is picking up the phone. So that's why we did it that way. And we did the same thing with the staff too, just as an internal email.
Well, I think it's important because whether we want to realize it or not, our kids are savvy enough that they're going to find it and they're going to see it. So if you don't open up the conversations first and be in the forefront of that, you can't, I mean, we can't protect them all the time, but at least we can open up a discussion and have something with your child, as opposed to thinking that they don't know anything about it and they're in the bathroom crying every day.
So thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, I do have a couple things. First of all, I received in the mail, and it's addressed to the Norton School Committee, the principal of Norton High, who at the time wasn't named. This came to me over the summer. The Board of Selectmen, and what it is a thank you note from one of our recipients of the Abigail Adams. She went and found out who was on the board to make the decision of handing out the scholarships and made the effort to thank everybody. So she's attending Assumption College. She said, I want to thank you very much for choosing me as a recipient for the K. Burton scholarship. I'm very humbled as well as honored to be gifted such a generous scholarship. I can assure you that each and every penny will go to great use in my academic future. All thanks to you. Again, thank you very much, and that's from Angela Connors. So I'll be passing this on to the high school, and then maybe we can send it on to the Board of Selectmen as well. It came to me because she was an old neighbor of mine, so I think I'm the only address she knew. So that's number one, if anybody wants to look at that. I also have, for the Massachusetts School Committee meeting, which is in November, this is the paper that I need to sign in saying that I'm the delegate from Norton for those resolutions that will come up. We don't have the resolutions yet, but this allows me to vote on the resolutions for you.
So I'm not sure, that has to be signed by somebody, but I don't know who. And then if you're interested, these are the nominating committee for president, vice president, treasurer, and I'm not sure what that is. So if anybody wants to read about them or anything or have any concerns. Two other quick things. We had talked a little bit last year about potentially calling them honors classes. I think we have decided at the middle school that that's not going to be done anymore.
A transition.
But I did find paper that had a whole outline of how math was done. So I don't know if anybody's interested in that. And lastly, I had spoken on the first day of school to the teachers, and I had talked about Boston Children's Hospital has the TAP program, which is an online program to teach about social emotional health and well-being. I have reached out to them, and they are in the process. I had one trifold pamphlet on it, which I wanted to give to each one of the schools, but I only had the one. I've contacted them, and they have contacted me back. They'll be sending 80 to 100 of us. They just sent out a new, sent to the printers a new updated format on it. So as soon as I get those in, I'll be dropping them off at all schools. Because from what I've seen of the program, I think it's an excellent program. It's a way to get your feet wet. It's a way to brush up on skills for our teachers. We're asking so much more of our teachers now without always giving them the tools that they need to do it. And I think this program is spectacular. And they couldn't thank us enough for pushing it and getting word out there about that. So they're very happy to help us out with that. So she said, I believe 2 weeks or so, I'll be getting those and I'll be dropping them off at every school. Does anybody else have other business?
Yeah, I think we want to just over the summer there was a transition from Carolyn to myself on the ad hoc, and we couldn't do a formal voting. We should do a formal voting actually.
Okay. So we're voting on switching our ad hoc.
From Carolyn to me.
Okay. Do we have a motion to switch that? So moved. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anything else?
I've given you a legal opinion for you to review. We'll take it up at a later date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, so our next meeting will be October 3rd, and that's going to be at the high school?
It'll be at the high school. We changed it with this date because of the high school
senior
preschool.
Right, so we take a motion to it?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night.